Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep today into a really cool idea from the English Dose podcast about boosting fluency. And it's something that's probably way simpler than you think.
Definitely.
And it all starts with remembering how we first learned to speak any language at all.
Uh-huh.
Like, think back to when we were babies,
Right?
just absorbing everything around us.
Yeah,
So, English Dose, they're calling it the listen and repeat method.
makes sense.
And honestly, it's kind of brilliant because you're not bogged down with textbooks and grammar rules.
It's like cutting out the middleman.
Totally. Yeah. And you're
Oh.
just focusing on mimicking the way native speakers actually talk.
It's like how we all learned our first language.
Precisely. And the cool thing is there's actual science backing this up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Have you heard of mirror neurons?
Hmm.
That sounds familiar. So these neurons, they fire up in our brains not only when we do something ourselves, but also when we see someone else doing it.
Interesting.
So imagine you're listening to someone speaking fluent English. Those mirror neurons are basically prepping your brain to copy those sounds.
Like laying the groundwork for us to reproduce those same patterns.
Exactly. It's like building a blueprint in your brain for how to speak.
Wow. So by just listening and repeating, we're actually training our brains on a neurological level.
It's like hacking your brain for language learning.
I love that. Now, English Dose also called this technique shadowing, which is a bit more than just simple repetition.
Right? It's about mimicking the nuances.
Absolutely. You're trying to capture the rhythm, the intonation, the natural flow of the language.
Right. Learning to dance with the words.
I remember when I was struggling with French verb conjugations, I felt like I was hitting a wall.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
But with shadowing, it's a totally different experience.
It becomes more organic, I guess.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you said, you're dancing with the language instead of taking it apart piece by piece.
And you start to feel the language rather than just thinking about it.
And have you found that when you start to really feel the rhythm of a language, does it become easier to speak?
Oh, absolutely, because you're not translating in your head anymore.
You're just letting the words flow.
It's like you're thinking in English.
And English Dose made a great point about that. They said shadowing helps you move away from translating and towards thinking directly in English.
Which is huge for fluency.
Right, because you're not getting stuck in that mental translation process.
And that mental block can really slow you down.
Exactly. So once you start thinking in English, it becomes much more natural to actually speak it.
Like you're not fighting against your own brain anymore.
And I bet that also does wonders for your confidence.
Oh, for sure. When you feel like you sound more natural, you're way more likely to actually speak up.
Right, you're not second-guessing yourself as much.
And the more you speak, the more confident you become. It's a positive cycle.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So let's break down how to actually do this shadowing thing. English Dose laid out 3 pretty simple steps.
Okay, I'm listening.
First, find some English listening material that you enjoy. This could be anything from podcasts like this one to audiobooks to YouTube videos.
Whatever keeps you engaged.
Right, then listen to a short sentence or phrase.
Got it.
Pause and repeat, trying to mimic everything as closely as you can, the pronunciation, the intonation, the rhythm, the whole shebang.
Mimicry is key.
And the key here is to do this over and over again.
Drill it in.
Exactly. Repetition is how those patterns get ingrained in your brain.
It's like practicing any skill. The more you do it, the better you get.
Now, I'm sure most of our listeners already have their favorite English podcasts or YouTube channels.
I'd hope so.
So think about how you can work shadowing into your routine. Any suggestions on choosing material, especially for different skill levels?
Well, I always recommend starting with material that features clear, slower English if you're just starting out.
Makes sense.
There are tons of resources specifically designed for learners.
Right.
As you progress, you can challenge yourself with faster, more conversational content, like maybe some stand-up comedy or a fast-paced movie.
And of course, it should always be something you actually enjoy.
Oh, definitely. If you're bored, you won't stick with it.
English Dose also had some good recommendations. So you mentioned podcasts, obviously, but also YouTube. There's a whole world of English learning channels out there.
Yeah, and some of them are really entertaining.
And then there's always movies and TV shows, which are great for practicing more realistic dialogue.
But make sure you have the subtitles on, at least at first.
Good point. And don't forget about AI tools. ChatGPT can generate practice sentences based on your level, and text-to-speech apps can give you instant feedback on your pronunciation.
Technology can be a great asset for language learning these days.
Absolutely. So to wrap things up, find some English content you love. Listen, pause, repeat, keep practicing. It's really that simple.
And the beauty of it is you can do it anytime, anywhere.
While you're cooking, while you're commuting, while you're working out.
It's like a secret weapon for fluency.
And here's a final thought for everyone, this listen and repeat idea. It's not just for languages. Think about how you might use it to learn any new skill,
Oh, interesting.
whether it's playing an instrument or coding or even a sport.
Like watching a pro and trying to copy their moves.
Exactly. It's all about training your brain through focused imitation.
That's a really powerful concept when you think about it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of shadowing.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember, keep listening, keep repeating, and keep practicing your English.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.